Hey y'all, Alon here. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be something I'm so excited about. Today I'm going to be doing my favorite books of the year. This year I believe I read 32 books. Well, it will be 33. I'm reading one last book, but I wanted to do like my favorite books of the year, but also kind of like my introduction to like BookTube. I'll be honest, I didn't know BookTube was a thing, and so once I figured out it was a thing, I was like, why are you not on BookTube? Like, why are you not on BookTube? So I was gonna do like a BookTube newbie tag, but I felt like since my channel is not gonna be revolving around books, it'll be a lot of book content or some book content, but I don't want my channel to be only books, so I didn't want to do like a BookTube newbie tag because it's not the only thing I'm gonna be doing on here. The main reason why I wanted to join Book Talk, outside of just like having community with like reading books, my friends and I, we have a book club. It's called Novella, and I'm gonna put all of our information down below. So if you're in the Atlanta area and if you are into reading or want to get into reading, then you should definitely join our book club. We're gonna be starting up reading in February, and I think it'll be just a really cool opportunity if you like to read. That's one reason I wanted to join like BookTube and really get into like creating content surrounding books, because I want to show like the journey of like the book club and like our meetings, us talking about books. I think that'll be so fun and so cute. I love reading, y'all know that. I love reading, so I do want to make content surrounding reading, but I don't want to make all of my YouTube content surrounding reading. I am going to try to commit to 1 or 2 videos surrounding reading a month. I want to do like book vlogs, maybe like TBR or even book reviews, and also want to document the progress with our book club and show like our meetings and just us kind of preparing and getting stuff together for that. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. Just get into my favorite books of the year. 2023 was like my year of books. I did get a new job working from home, and so with me working from home, I don't work like 100% of the day. I work, I would say, maybe around like 40 to 60% of the day. So the other half of the day, normally I do stuff around the house. Kind of got into reading because I felt like I was on my phone too much, and just I felt like I wasn't being productive, and it just felt kind of like it just felt bad. Like I just felt like I just wasn't being productive. I wasn't doing things that was gonna get me far in life. I was just on my phone scrolling. So I picked up some books, and I really do hope that people do more reading in 2024. I think that's what's wrong with us. We need to put down the podcast equipment and pick up some damn books. Out of all the books that I read, I wanted to share like my favorite books and kind of like why. First book, we're actually gonna start off with one of the, I think this might have been the first book I read this year. I'm not really sure. Actually, this wasn't the first book I read this year, but this was one of the first few books I read this year. This book is The Silent Patient, of course. It is a thriller about this woman who kills her husband, and then she ends up in like this asylum or like this facility with like all these other people who have issues. I'm trying to figure out why she's so silent, and it tells, I would say, 2 stories at once. Literally, when I got to the point of like the big reveal, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to control my emotions, so all I could do was scream. It was so good. I did not expect this, and I'm so glad that I actually read this book with my friends. A lot of people said that they felt like they saw where it was going, or they felt like they knew where the big reveal was going to be, or they knew it. But me personally, I was just all the way over here. The reveal was over here, child. I did not expect it. I think it's a really good book, especially if you're trying to get into reading, or if you want to just get like a really quick thriller out the way. This is like the perfect one in my opinion. I don't think it's too long. Now, I will say in the beginning it felt a little bit slow, so give it a little time, give it a couple chapters, but it's really good. Silent Patient. And I do know that he has another book out. I'm kind of thinking about maybe reading that next year. I don't know yet, but we will see. The next book is Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. It's about this young lady. Her name is Mary. She's actually convicted of killing a baby, allegedly, and it kind of goes through her life and like the trial and like the things she goes through with her relationship with her mom, and then just like all the stuff she goes through. This is like one of those characters, like if you're into reading, you know, sometimes you have those characters that you're like, you feel like they're like a part of you, or like you want to see them win so bad, and then it's just like constantly there's always something that comes up with them, and they just can't seem to get it together, or like life doesn't let them, you know, whatever. But yeah, this book, it was so freaking good. Like I for sure cried like 3 or 4 times, and I'm gonna be honest, I always say that I'm not a crier, but like this book right here, it really made me become a crier, because towards the end I just could not get myself together. I could not get myself together for like the life of me. It was so bad, but the book was so good. I'm actually currently reading Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson as well, and cried during that one too. Interesting thing about it is that her books are actually based off of like true stories. I'm not familiar with the backstory for this book per se, but the one from Monday's Not Coming is actually a court case that I was so obsessed over. And so I don't know, Monday's Not Coming is a really good book. It actually would have made this video, but I didn't finish it, so I didn't feel right. But that is an amazing book too. Cried, boohoo crying, so freaking good. I think Tiffany D. Jackson is going to be my favorite author of 2024 just because I'm loving it. I think I'm having a Tiffany D. Jackson year next year. The next book is Perfect Peace. And this book, oh my god. So let's start by saying The Darkest Child is one of my favorite books. I absolutely love that book. That's another book that I'm going to be rereading probably next year. I was just looking up on TikTok about like what people were saying about The Darkest Child, and someone recommended reading Perfect Peace if you like The Darkest Child. So of course I was like, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna do it. So this book is about this woman who has 6 boys, and she gets pregnant again. She's like, this child is gonna be a girl. This is gonna be a girl. This is gonna be a girl. She was trying to manifest. And so lo and behold, when she has the baby, she finds out it's another boy. And so she decides, you know what? I'm gonna raise this as a girl. Nobody's gonna know. I'm gonna be the one changing his diapers. It's gonna be a girl. So it basically follows the life of like this kid who's like born as a boy but raised as a girl. Then mom decides, you know what, we need to tell them the truth. And so the poor child goes through like gender identity issues, but then also it follows the life of the kid, but then all of the siblings, because all of the 6 brothers all have their own issues and like things that they go on in life. Like one is blind, and then one is like the oldest, one can't read. It's just so much that goes on. There were certain points of this book where I felt like I had to put it down, just because it was a lot to kind of process and handle for one point, and I just couldn't do it. I think it's set back in like the 50s or 60s. So I don't know why I love books from like the 50s and 60s. I don't know what it is. This author, Daniel Black, he did an amazing job. And I actually found out that he is a professor at Clark Atlanta. So I don't know. One of my friends was telling me that he actually got to meet him, and he was like super cool. So I think I'm gonna end up reading another one of his books because this book was incredible. So the next book is The Vanishing Half. Now this book, I feel like I'm saying like all these books are my favorites and they're really good, but it's the truth. This book, it follows the life of a set of twin sisters. I don't know what city they were from. I feel like it was like Alabama. It was somewhere kind of country. They were from somewhere kind of country, and they get older and then they decide that they want to move. They want to move out their country town, and so they end up splitting up. One lives her life as like a white woman, another lives her life as like a black woman, and it's really interesting. You get to see like the parallels in their lives, and then how they end up raising their daughters, and then how they like kind of connect again. It's so freaking good. One thing I really did like about this book is that I feel like to me it kind of played out like a movie in my head. Like even though it was a book, I think she did a really good job of like being really descriptive. Like I feel like all the characters, I can see them in my face in certain points. There was a neighborhood she was describing. I'm like, I can see it. I'm here with you. Like it was cried in this book, surprisingly. I don't think I did, but the only thing about this book, I really wish I read this with like a friend or like with my book club, because I think that they would have really enjoyed this. And it gives a lot to talk about. We deal with like LGBTQ issues, being trans in like the 80s and 90s, passing and racism, and it's just so much that goes along with it. And then they also talk about their relationship with their mother and how they're navigating that, but then also their relationship with their kids, and then the men in their lives. I was gonna reread it like a month ago, and I was like, girl, you gotta give yourself some time. You gotta forget it a little bit. Yeah, I think this might be on my TBR for next year again. So the next book is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I'm not like a big romance person, so like I only bought this book to see what the hype was about. I'm like, I gotta see what these girls are talking about on TikTok. Everybody was hollering about this, and I will say the beginning was a little rocky, the middle was a little rocky, but once it started to pick up, I'm like, okay, I get it. I see where you girls are coming from. I think once it got to like a certain relationship, that's where I was just like, okay, I know, okay, I'm here. I see why y'all like this book. it's just something about me and romance books. I just think it's like, I think it's predictable. Like, I feel like at the end of all romance books, it just feels like, okay, you're gonna be together, so I don't really need to read this. But with this book, homegirl had 7 husbands, so we didn't know who she was gonna be with at the end. I think it ends really good. The ending, I did not expect it. 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It's actually historical fiction. There's a lot going on with this book. It's historical fiction. It's a romance novel, and yeah, it basically tells the life of this woman who to me kind of reminds me of like a Marilyn Monroe. It goes through her life with basically her relationships and all the relationships she was in, and how she kind of like navigated them with having a kid and being like this huge movie star. And I'm excited because I heard that they're making this into like a movie or a TV show, and I think this is actually going to be a really good thing. I think if you're really into romances, or if you like historical fictions, I think you will really enjoy this book. I'm not a fan of either, but I actually ended up crying at the end. It was so good. Okay, so my last and final book is Verity. If you don't know, if you haven't read Verity, I need you to go and get Verity. Go and get it and go start reading it tonight. This is one of those books where it took me like 3 or 4 days to finish it. And I'm a slow reader. But I couldn't put it down. I couldn't put it down because it was just so much going on. I'm like, I need to know what happens next. I need to know how this is going to end. It follows the story of this author. Her name is Lo. She's contacted by Verity's estate. They actually want her to come and finish this book that Verity has like started reading. And so it's just crazy. That's all I'm gonna say. She goes and ends up moving in with Verity and her family. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it at that. This book was absolutely insane. I didn't expect it like to be how it was. I thought the girls was just hyping it up, just kind of like doing too much on TikTok, but no, it really did live up to the hype. There were certain points in the book where I was like scared. I'm turning around, looking over my shoulder, making sure nobody behind me. I remember I went to the gym and I was like, oh my God, like is Verity gonna be in this gym bathroom with me? Like, I was so paranoid for like a good week because the way it was written, it was so good. And I promise you, if you don't believe me, you gotta just read the first page. Read the first page. It just starts off crazy. This is one of those books where like, if anybody's like, I wanna get into reading, what do I read? Start off with Verity. Start off with Verity, or if like my friends are like, I don't know what to read. To me, it's like a good palate cleanser. Like if you're like in a reading slump, you feel like you can't read or don't feel like reading, this is a good one. I feel like for the most part though, everyone has kind of read Verity at this point. But yeah, if you have read Verity, I need to know, are you team manuscript or are you team letter? You should comment that down below. Me personally, I'm team manuscript. I did not read the second book where she had like the additional chapter. I feel like that's gonna sway my whole like mindset, and I really do believe that I'm team manuscript. I'm team manuscript. I don't want to change my mind. So yes guys, that is the end of the video. I didn't want to make it too long. I actually had like 3 or 4 more other books that I wanted to include, but I'm like, ciao. If you read any of these books, you should definitely comment them down below. I would love to hear your thoughts, and then also comment down below any books that you're planning on reading this year or what your book plans are this year. I think this upcoming year for 2024, I really do want to, my goal was 25 this year and I read 33. Well, we'll be 33. So I don't know. I think I kind of want to try to do maybe 40, but I don't know. We'll see. Thank you all for watching this video. Comment, rate, subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.